Hello everyone, this is Aqualyn and welcome to Sacred Self-Love Sundays. I'm back, yay! I am so excited to be back. I took a few months off because I just wanted to rest and needed to rest. Also, hey sissy, I was having, how it started for me taking the rest is I was having some health issues earlier, starting in December, and it carried on to January. And so I decided to just rest. And I wanted to talk about that today, but I didn't realize that coming back on the Sacred Self-Love Sundays, this particular Sunday would be Easter Sunday. Happy Easter. Hi, NQC. So anyway, I didn't realize that it was going to be today, of course, the Resurrection Sunday, Easter Sunday, that I would be back. But I'm grateful to be back. But hi Melanie, it all goes into what I want to talk about today actually, because I realized that it's important for us to rest. But as I was thinking about what I wanted to share, three words came to mind, considering that this is Easter / Resurrection Sunday. And those three words are rest, death, and resurrection. And how to know when to allow things, how to know when to rest, how to know when to put things to death, meaning to an end, and also when to resurrect. So with that, again, going back to one of the reasons why I stopped doing the Sacred Self-Love Sundays is because I was having health issues. And then, of course, I am a full-time caregiver to my niece who has special needs. Also, I homeschool two of my grands, plus help the 18-year-old with finishing up her senior year. And so it has been, a lot. And so I got really overwhelmed, and I felt it was a disservice to, number one, myself, to come on live to pour into you when my cup was slowly beginning to be empty. So I decided that I was going to take some time to rest. And I'm so grateful that I took that time to rest. I think that a part of learning how and when to rest is really paying attention to when you feel your lowest, also when you feel that what you're giving, you're not giving from the overflow. Because what happens is we tend to give so much of ourselves that we end up feeling empty. And that means going to bed at night feeling so drained and so tired, and not able to sleep sometimes because you're so drained and so tired. Or it means that you've given so much of yourself to other people and no one is giving back to you. So it's important for you to understand and know that it is really key for you to take moments and time to rest and not feel connected to or feel like you are I'm going to say reneging on your obligations, because that was one of the first things that I thought about was I've said I was going to come on every Sunday, and now I'm taking this rest. So what does that look like? Thinking that you're going to judge me and say, well, she's not consistent. I am consistent, and I know that I'm consistent. However, I realized that I needed to rest and I needed to detach myself from, I'm going to say, that commitment, but also detach myself from just what those stories that I made up in my mind about what people would think with me not coming on every Sunday, And so part of that taking your rest is to understand and know when to detach from other people's opinions, other people's expectations, but also when to detach from sometimes the commitments that you made. Detaching, or I'm going to say taking a rest from commitment, is a healthy thing, because what it does is it revitalizes you so that you can continue on in that commitment. Now, it's a difference if you are, you know, in a challenge with someone and you and that person have agreed to do certain things together, and you have that, not just a commitment together, but you, pardon me, have a vow together to do certain things, you know, like a marriage vow. You know, we vow to be in this together. We vow to do these things together. And so in that, unless it's agreed upon that you rest from that vow, then of course you don't. You just find ways to rest in within that agreement. But it's just the reason why I say that is because, like I said, we give so much of ourselves. And I say this all the time. Hi, Philippa. I say this all the time, that you cannot pour from an empty cup at all. You know, you cannot, it's impossible to pour from an empty cup. And so we have to have times where we honor ourselves enough to take a break and fill ourselves back up. Now, when you take a break doesn't mean to not return. Rest simply means to cease from activity, which means that I'm no longer active in this particular thing until I am rejuvenated, until I am restored. Hey, Kendra, until I'm rejuvenated and until I'm restored. So with that, that's what I wanted to talk about rest. And how do you know when it's time to rest? One of the ways is, like I said, you feel exhausted, you feel tired, or you struggle in your end of the situation, the commitment. You know, you're struggling to do, to be, you know, to have in a particular situation. That's when you know it's time for you to take a break and rest for a while. Now, in resting, you make a decision, because like I said, resting is ceasing from activity. But in resting, you make a decision. Do I want to continue to rest, meaning I want to continue to be inactive, or do I want to just put this thing to bed? Meaning that do I want to just bury this and no longer, you know, go on with whatever this is? I teach in Self-Love University the scripture that talks about when Lazarus died, and the disciples, and they were reporting to Jesus about, you know, Lazarus' condition. And Jesus said, this is not until death. And how I interpreted that through the Holy Spirit is this, that death and dying are not the same thing. Because what I believe, this is just my personal belief, that when something dies, it can be resurrected. For example, a plant that dies, if you nurture it a certain way, it can come back to life. But something that experiences death, meaning that it literally ceases to exist in all realms and in all forms altogether. And so we know from the story of Lazarus that he died, but he was also resurrected. So how do you know when to put things to death? I actually don't have that answer for you, because it's relative to each and every person. But what I can say is this: your intuition, prayer, meditation, your being able to hear spiritually, to listen to the voice of God when God says, that's it, cut it off, or when God says, you know, put this to rest. That's when you know when it's time. I could easily go down a whole list of things, you know, we put to death relationships. You know, we break up with somebody, we no longer see them again. That's putting that to death, and it doesn't come back to life at all. So that's why I say it's relative to each person. It's not a one particular formula to putting things to death. But there are some things that we have to let die. And sometimes it's not just in relationships, but within us, that they need to die for this time. And then later on in life, I can resurrect it. For example, allowing maybe your, I was watching a lady, Siri, I don't know her name. I just know a series, something a part of that is in her name. She did an Instagram live a couple of weeks ago, and she said that she learned about herself that she is full of rage. And that over the years, if I'm not mistaken, she says she's learned to put that rage to rest, but she also knows when to bring that rage to life in situations where it matters most. I believe that that is true for a lot of things that happens in our lives, or a lot of ways that we are. When you say, when I was young, I used to be fierce and have the this and do this and this and this, but then at some point you allow that to die, and then now, or maybe another time in life, you're going to have to resurrect that and live through that passion. Sometimes we say, when I was younger, I had a passion for this and this. I know we always talk about being young, and when I was young, I wanted to do this, I wanted to have this, I wanted to go here, I wanted to do that. And then it seems like after so long, we pretty much allow those dreams or those aspirations or those hobbies to die. And then when you get to a certain age, you pick them back up. It really, what I'm hearing right now is sometimes we have to resurrect our inner child. Sometimes we have to resurrect those dreams and goals and aspirations that we once had, that we put aside, or that we allowed to die in that moment, simply because there were other obligations and other things that we had to fulfill. And so it's okay to let things die. Let me say that first. It is truly okay to let things die. I say every time I go live, my nose runs. Never fails. But it's truly okay to let things die. And the key is this, though. When you let things die, you have to walk away and not return to it until it's time to return to it. Because sometimes what happens is, especially in relationships, if you experience a breakup, you're wanting to return to, that person in some way, whether it is return to a connection that you had, or return to a place that you visited, or return some kind of way, when in order for you to move on beyond it, you have to turn away from it and keep going in the direction opposite of it. Now, at some point in life, when it's time for you to go back and resurrect it, of course, you go back and you do the digging, whatever that is for you, to resurrect the thing that you allowed to die. But again, the key is to not feel guilty or not feel bad that you allowed it to die, because some things have to die in order for you to grow. And then once you grow to a certain level, then you're mature enough to go back to it and pick it up and say, okay, now I can resurrect this, because I'm at a space in my life where I can handle it and I can live it and treat it right, or treat myself better, or make this dream or this goal or this aspiration be all that I know it can be. Because in the death of it, you had to grow to the level to resurrect it. Okay. And then, of course, the last thing that I want to talk about is resurrection. And the beauty in resurrection is this: it is new life. And someone is at my door and I don't know who it is. So give me 1 minute. Delivery. I totally forgot my niece was expecting a delivery today. So I was talking about not delivery. See, look how you get train of thought changes. I was talking about resurrection and saying that it's perfectly okay to go back and resurrect certain things. But what can happen sometimes is we want to resurrect certain things that have experienced death and not necessarily have died. And what I mean by that is things that have gone and finally, been, have no life within them whatsoever. we want to go back to certain things that we know within our heart that God has told us to steer clear of. We know within our hearts that, God cut off, specifically cut off. But we want to go back and we want to resurrect it. And then when we try to resurrect it, what we're resurrecting is dead conditions or dead situations that no longer serves us. And so what we have to do is we have to have a strong sense of discernment and know what you can go back to and what you can't go back to. A perfect example is I've had an off and on relationship with someone for several years. And then after I had surgery a couple of years ago, we broke up. And then we started talking again, but talking again just as friends. And I had a real revelation recently about the relationship that I have with that person, that relationship has experienced a death that certain aspects of it will never ever be resurrected. And I had to become okay with that. And in that, I made an inner decision that we can remain friends, but we can never, ever, ever have a romantic involvement, because that romantic part of that experienced death. And it's okay, like I'm okay with that. And I'm sure that he is okay with it too, because like I said, we're the best of friends. But knowing that it will never go back into another romantic relationship is totally fine with me, because I realized within myself that it wasn't just me that put it to death, but it was God putting it to death to make room for the next thing that comes into my life. And that's the thing, well, I say next thing, next person. But that's the thing about death, is when God puts to death certain things in our lives, we have to really understand and know and understand and overstand that if God puts it to death, we do not need to return to it anymore whatsoever. We don't need to return to it. I know it hurts. Death hurts. We mourn it, we grieve it, all of that. But once you get over it, there's new life on the other side of it. So whatever you decide, whatever you know that you are supposed to leave alone, I'm encouraging you today to leave it alone, to let it go. Because once you leave it alone and once you let it go, God will bring new conditions and new people and new situations in your life. And at one point in your life, it'll almost be a distant memory, that I can't even believe I was in that situation. I can't believe that I was, mourning or grieving over that person or that condition or that situation, or I acted the way I acted when that person left my life, or whatever it is, because what God replaces in place of the thing that's dead, that experienced death, is greater anyway. So not only is it about allowing the new to come in, but it's also about discerning when to stop looking back and when to move forward. And so I want to encourage you on this Resurrection Sunday to think about those three categories. What in my life do I need to rest from? What do I need to rest from? And give yourself permission to rest, whether it's a day, whether it is a week, a month, sometimes it could be a year. What do I need a rest from? The second thing I want you to ask yourself is, what in my life do I need to put to death? It could be a disposition, an attitude. It could just be, I'm not going to say just, it could be a relationship that you toil with so much that it's time to really let it go. And you know within your heart of hearts that it's time to let it go. It could be a condition. Maybe you are constantly trying to fix something in your home, or constantly trying to fix something in your life, and within your heart of hearts that it's time to put an end to it and embrace something new. So the second thing is, what in my life, pardon me, do I really need to put to death? And the last thing is, what is there in my life, or it may not be in your life right now, but just be keen and pay attention, have keen discernment on what is it that can be resurrected or I can resurrect right now. So let's say maybe when you were younger, you were really, a go-getter. And then life happened and certain things came up in your life, and now you're not a go-getter like you used to be. Well, resurrect that now. And so you know what? Because here's the thing with resurrection. Resurrection means that there was life. So if there was life, there will be life again. So in the same way that you were, a go-getter when you were young, you have the capability of being that now because you resurrect that in your life. So you really have to just give yourself time and permission, do a lot of introspection, think about not just, your personal conditions, but think about all of these areas: your soul, your spiritual life, your soul, the condition of your heart, the condition of your emotions, the condition of your mind, but also think about your relationships, think about your body. There may be something regarding your body that you want to resurrect. I know a lot of women want to resurrect an old figure that they had, or an old, I'm going to say maybe old energy, that you had before. Like I remember I had this much energy, and you can get back to that. It takes faith, it takes patience, it takes perseverance, it takes determination, all of that, but you can. And what else? I was going to say something else. And that's all that I can think of right now. Hi, V. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you all again for being here today, because like I said, I took a rest from this and I'm glad to return. But I just wanted to just encourage you that if you are watching this and you need to reach out to someone just to have a listening ear, or just say, hey, I just need to talk through this, or this is what I'm going through, or this is what I am feeling right now, or whatever, feel free to reach out to me here on Instagram. There is a link, I think it says contact email or something like that. You can email me, or you can click the link in my bio that will take you to my website. And my website, there's a contact button at the top. If you're watching on YouTube, then you can actually click the information in the bottom of this of this video, and my website will be there, so you can also click on that to contact me. But that's what I'm here for. I'm here to offer myself as a service to you, to help you through life and help you to decide what do you need to rest, what you need to put to death, and what you need to resurrect. The beauty in resurrection is this, that it holds just as much life in resurrection as it did before you put it to death, or before God put it to death. Resurrection is life breathed back into whatever the condition or the situation or the relationship or the body or whatever again. So with that, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so grateful to see so many familiar faces. I'm grateful for you too, Melanie. Thank you so much. So thank you all. I send love, light, peace, and blessings to you. And happy Easter, happy resurrection. I love you and God bless you. Take care.